Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today we're plunging into a topic that's more relevant than ever: sustainable living. We've distilled a stack of sources, cutting-edge research, and practical insights. Our goal: to give you actionable steps and, those surprising nuggets you need to embrace a more eco-friendly lifestyle, and all without feeling like you need to move to an off-grid cabin tomorrow.
That's exactly right. At its heart, sustainable living is really about making conscious choices. Choices that reduce your personal environmental footprint. It's about cultivating, a harmony with the planet, conserving our precious resources, drastically reducing waste, and prioritizing long-term ecological balance over, let's face it, fleeting convenience. What's truly fascinating, I think, is that it's not necessarily about these huge, unattainable lifestyle overhauls. Instead, it's about surprisingly small, consistent actions. These ripple through key areas of our lives.
Right.
Things like zero waste practices, ethical consumption, how we power our homes,
Right.
mindful transportation, shaping our living spaces, and even what we choose to eat.
And here's why this deep dive is so crucial for you right now. Climate change, pollution, sustainability. These aren't just headlines anymore, are they? They're deeply personal concerns for so many of us.
Absolutely.
And we're looking for realistic, manageable solutions, not just more overwhelming statistics. So our mission today is to equip you with immediately usable tips and those genuine aha moments. We want you to feel inspired, not overwhelmed, and know that you can absolutely start exactly where you are right now.
Okay, let's unpack this. So let's kick things off by exploring how intricately our everyday consumption habits are woven into the amount of waste we produce. And a really foundational connection, isn't it?
Absolutely. Think about zero waste living. It's more than just a catchy phrase. It's a commitment, really, to minimizing trash sent to landfills. The core idea: reduce what you buy, reuse what you have, recycle what you can, and ideally, refuse things you don't actually need in the first place.
So this looks like replacing disposables with reusables. Things like cloth napkins, maybe menstrual cups. Those are amazing reusable alternatives to disposable period products. Or even beeswax wraps instead of cling film for food storage.
Right, practical swaps.
Yeah, exactly. It also means actively composting food scraps. And you can do this even in apartments,
Yeah.
with compact indoor bins or by tapping into local community gardens. And of course, shopping from bulk stores or farmers markets with your own containers and bags. That's a big one.
So it's really about intentionality then, moving from just convenience to mindfulness.
Precisely. The powerful insight here isn't just about reducing landfill bulk, though that's important. It's about recognizing the hidden waste in our convenience culture. The time, energy, resources consumed even before something becomes trash. It's like a systemic shift in how we approach daily habits.
Okay.
Now, a common misconception is that you have to fit all your trash in a tiny jar. That's an extreme minimalist goal, which, it's inspiring, but it's not the universal requirement, you know?
That seems pretty intimidating.
Yeah, it can be. People also often think it's expensive or incredibly time-consuming, or that you have to change everything all at once to make any difference.
Yeah, that's a huge barrier for many people, I think. If someone is feeling overwhelmed, what's one small step? Something that gives you that feeling like, okay, I'm actually doing something.
Well, ditching plastic water bottles for a reusable one is a classic for a reason. But carrying your own reusable shopping bags and utensils, maybe, or just starting a small home compost bin, those are incredibly powerful first steps. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Have you ever considered why your recycling efforts might sometimes be, futile? And what to do instead?
Oh, tell me more about that, because we all try to recycle, right?
We do, but often recycling systems are overwhelmed by contamination, or there's just no market for the materials. This means your carefully sorted plastics might still end up in a landfill.
Seriously, that's discouraging.
It can be. The real solution lies in prioritizing reduction and reuse before you even get to recycling. Or try this, a trash audit challenge for a week. You literally just observe everything you throw away. You'll likely be shocked at what patterns emerge. It reveals where your biggest waste streams truly lie.
A trash audit. Okay, interesting.
We've even heard stories of people who, after a year of diligent effort, fit all their non-recyclable, non-compostable trash into a single mason jar. It's astounding how much of our lives revolve around disposable items once you really start paying attention.
Wow. That's truly inspiring, maybe a bit daunting too, but it shows what's possible when you shift your mindset. Okay, so moving from what we discard to what we purchase, let's talk about ethical consumption.
Right. Ethical consumption is basically making buying choices that align with your values. truly considering how products affect the environment, the workers who made them, and animals.
Okay, so what does that involve in practice?
Well, it involves actively supporting fair trade and cruelty-free products, consciously avoiding fast fashion, maybe opting for thrifting, or buying from small local businesses instead. And becoming fluent in reading labels, looking for certifications like B Corp.
P Corps?
Yeah, that signifies high standards of social and environmental performance. Or fair trade, ensuring equitable wages. Or GOTS,
GOTS.
Global Organic Textile Standard. It covers a whole supply chain for textiles. The core insight here is incredibly powerful, I think. Every single purchase you make is like a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. Effectively shifts power from huge, often opaque corporations to more conscious, community-aligned businesses.
That's a great way to put it, a vote with your wallet. But I mentioned there are pitfalls, right? Like greenwashing. How do we spot that?
Exactly. Greenwashing is a major pitfall. That's where companies make vague or maybe misleading claims about being eco-friendly without actually doing the work. It can be. Look for specific certifications, transparent supply chains. Avoid companies that just use buzzwords but offer no real substance. Other common misconceptions are that ethical choices are always expensive,
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
which isn't always true, especially if you consider long-term value, or that it only applies to clothes or food, when really it spans everything from electronics to cleaning supplies, and of course the idea that one person's purchases don't matter.
Which, as you said, is clearly not the case. Our individual choices do add up. So what are some easy ways to start making those more ethical purchasing decisions without it feeling like another chore?
You could start by researching just one common item you buy regularly, like your coffee or maybe a basic t-shirt. You'll probably be amazed at what you discover about its journey. Try thrift shopping or clothing swaps for your wardrobe. That can be fun too. Apps like Good On You can also be fantastic resources for rating brands on their ethical practices.
Good on you. Okay, I'll check that out.
And to give you an intriguing angle, really consider the true cost of a $5 t-shirt. When you see that price tag, it almost guarantees environmental issues, chemical dyes, massive water usage, and often, unfortunately, exploitative labor practices.
Wow, yeah. Puts it in perspective.
We've seen stories of people who committed to swapping out all their fast fashion over a year, and it's incredible how their wardrobe evolved into something more unique, durable, and truly reflective of their values, not just trends.
So what does this all mean when we put zero waste and ethical consumption together? It really seems like reducing waste goes hand in hand with making mindful purchases. Like zero waste values almost naturally lead to more conscious buying habits because you start valuing durability in a product's whole life cycle more.
It's the circular nature of mindful living, exactly. It's about closing the loop, you know? So for your call to action for this section, try buying only secondhand or package-free items for just 7 days and really notice how it changes your shopping habits. What new discoveries do you make? What feels different?
Okay, let's transition now. Let's talk about home. How your home, the place you spend so much time, can be a really powerful lever for sustainability. It's not just about what you consume outside, but how you power and inhabit your own space.
Right, exactly. When we talk about renewable energy at home, we're talking about actively switching to energy sources that don't pollute or deplete. So think solar, wind, hydro, geothermal.
Big stuff.
It sounds big. But even if you don't own a sprawling estate, small-scale actions can make a huge difference. This could be installing solar panels if you own a home, yes. Or, crucially, simply signing up for green energy through your local utility program. Many providers offer this now.
Oh, really? That seems more accessible.
It is, and even simpler things. Using smart plugs and power strips to cut down on that phantom load from idle electronics. Swapping out old incandescent bulbs for energy-efficient LEDs, that's an easy win. And making sure your doors and windows are properly weather-sealed to reduce heating and cooling needs.
Right, efficiency matters too. I think a lot of people immediately dismiss clean energy because they assume, like you said, they need a huge house with a roof full of solar panels to make any impact.
That's precisely the biggest misconception we encounter. The core insight here is that clean energy starts with you, in your home, not just with panels, but through how you use power and your conscious choices about its source. It's about reducing overall demand and making intelligent investments in cleaner alternatives when you can. And it's definitely not just for the wealthy. Even small actions absolutely add up over time.
So for apartment dwellers or maybe those on a tight budget, what are some truly practical entry points, things they can do today?
Okay, number one, check if your utility provider offers a renewable energy plan. Often it's just a checkbox on your bill or a quick phone call.
Simple enough.
Very. Consider getting an energy monitor to track your usage. Just seeing the numbers can be incredibly motivating, actually. And like we said, upgrading light bulbs or simply making a habit of unplugging idle electronics, phone chargers, TVs, gaming consoles can significantly reduce your phantom load.
That sneaky energy drain.
Exactly. And to unpack an intriguing angle, let's talk about solar without the panels. If you're a renter, you might be able to participate in community solar projects or choose a green energy supplier if that's an option in your area. You're effectively buying renewable energy credits without installing anything on your own roof.
Ah, community solar.
Interesting.
Yeah. And as for, does turning off the light really help? Short answer, yes, it absolutely does. While the bigger energy picture involves grid-level changes, individual conservation remains vital. It all contributes. We've seen families gradually transform their homes into low-energy sanctuaries without going broke. It really proves it's an accessible journey for many.
That's really encouraging to hear. So, okay, beyond just the energy source, how do we make our actual living spaces themselves greener? Right. This is about cultivating green living spaces, creating a home environment that actively supports sustainability and your well-being, even if you're renting or in a tiny space.
Okay, like what?
Changes you can make include adding indoor plants. They naturally improve air quality and, honestly, just make a space feel better. Using natural cleaning products. Actively avoiding VOCs, volatile organic compounds.
VOCs, right? Those nasty chemicals.
Yeah, they're often found in furniture, paints, even synthetic fragrances in candles and air fresheners.
Well,
Also, rethink your furniture. Can you upcycle something you already have? Or buy secondhand? That keeps items out of landfills and reduces the demand for new manufacturing.
good point.
The core insight here is that your home is kind of an extension of your values. Making it eco-friendly doesn't require building a brand new eco-house from scratch. It's about intentional upgrades, energy awareness, and creating a healthier, more mindful space for yourself.
So it's not about becoming a minimalist if you're not already one, or like throwing out everything you own and starting over.
Exactly. That's a huge misconception. Another is that you need a ton of money for upgrades. Or that simply adding a few plants and switching cleaners is, enough. It's more holistic than that.
Got it.
Simple entry points are, yes, swapping out chemical cleaners for natural alternatives, introducing some easy care, low light indoor plants for air purification, and just optimizing natural lighting and air circulation. Open windows when you can.
That's simple.
Yeah. And for an intriguing angle, think about this. Toxin-free home. What looks in your furniture, paint, and candles? It's kind of shocking how many common household items, off-gas, harmful chemicals, formaldehyde, phthalates, synthetic fragrances, these can really impact your indoor air quality.
Yikes. Things we don't even think about.
Exactly. We've heard stories of couples who, even in their small apartment, focused on these elements. They gradually converted it into this sort of mini eco-retreat, emphasizing peace, simplicity, and that connection to sustainability.
It really sounds like the energy you use and the actual space you live in can truly work together. Not just reducing your footprint, but genuinely improving your well-being, too. It seems like a win-win.
It's a holistic approach to your living environment, definitely. And it's incredibly empowering when you start making those changes. So for this section's call to action, start with just one room in your home, maybe the bedroom or the living room. Optimize it for comfort, energy savings, and sustainability. See how it transforms the space and maybe even your mindset about it.
All right, now let's shift focus again. Let's talk about one of the most impactful daily choices we make, often without even thinking much about it.
Yeah.
What we eat.
Oh, food is a massive area for personal impact. Absolutely. Sustainable eating, essentially, is about a diet that actively reduces environmental harm, usually by focusing on local, seasonal, and primarily plant-based foods, the key areas. Eating less meat and dairy. Those are really significant carbon footprint reducers. And consciously trying to avoid overpackaged or highly processed food, which often carries a huge hidden environmental cost in production and transport. And crucially, we absolutely have to talk about food waste reduction. It's estimated that something like a third of all food produced globally is wasted, which is just astonishing.
A bird, wow. That's huge.
It's enormous. So this means mastering things like meal planning, proper food storage techniques, and getting creative with leftovers rather than just tossing them.
I feel like food waste is something we all grapple with, though, even with the best intentions.
Yeah.
It just happens sometimes.
It's a huge issue, no doubt. And the core insight here is that food, while being a significant contributor to climate change, it's also one of the easiest, most immediate places where you can start making a positive change. Every single bite is a choice.
Right.
Now, a common misconception is that you need to be fully vegan or vegetarian to eat sustainably. That's not true.
Okay, good to know.
Even just reducing meat and dairy consumption by a little bit makes a real difference. Another misconception is that local is always better. Sometimes, depending on the food and the season, flying certain out-of-season produce might actually have a lower carbon footprint than heating a local greenhouse all winter to grow it. It's complex.
Huh, okay. That's counterintuitive.
It can be. And of course, the myth that sustainable food is inherently expensive.
So, beyond just eat less meat, which we hear a lot, what are some realistic ways to start? Ways that don't feel like deprivation?
Okay, practical entry points. Maybe start with Meatless Mondays. It's a simple way to introduce more plant-based meals into your week. Prioritize buying in-season produce. It's usually cheaper, tastes better, and has a lower footprint. And get inventive with food scraps. Don't just bin them.
Inventive with food scraps, like what?
Well, for an intriguing angle, dive into don't toss that. We're talking about using things like carrot tops to make pesto, or even making surprisingly delicious banana peel bacon for a plant-based twist.
Banana peel bacon.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Seriously. It sounds weird, but people do it. It's all about seeing food as a valuable resource, not something to be easily discarded. We've heard the experience of someone who committed to a locavore diet for a month, eating only lower food. And what that taught them was this profound appreciation for their regional food system, the seasons, and just how disconnected we can become from where our food comes from.
That really connects mindful eating and zero-waste habits, doesn't it? It highlights how every meal can genuinely be part of the solution, from how you shop, to how you cook, to how you save and use leftovers.
It absolutely can. It's all linked. So for your call to action here, challenge yourself to waste zero food for just 1 week. Maybe track what you usually throw away first, then actively find ways to prevent it. Share your successes and even your failures. It's all part of the learning curve, right?
Okay, let's move the conversation now to, well, how we move, how we get around, and its surprisingly significant impact on our daily carbon footprint.
Transportation is undoubtedly a big one.
Yeah.
Eco-friendly transportation is really all about cutting emissions by choosing greener ways to get from point A to point B.
Makes sense.
The tactics vary quite a bit, using bikes or maybe e-scooters for shorter trips. Carpooling, embracing public transport, working remotely whenever possible cuts out the commute entirely. If you must drive, opting for electric or hybrid vehicles makes a difference. And then there's the whole topic of carbon offsetting when you fly, but we need to understand what that really means and its limitations.
That's quite a range of options.
Yeah.
What's the core idea behind all of them? Is it just about reducing CO2 emissions?
It's more than just CO2, though that's a major part. The core insight, I think, is that transportation isn't just one of the biggest personal carbon sources. It's also an area where collective community-level shifts can make a truly massive impact. It's about reimagining how our cities are designed and how we interact with our immediate environments. Common misconceptions include thinking public transport is only for people who can't afford cars, or that electric cars are a perfect catch-all solution without their own environmental considerations like battery production and disposal. That's a big one.
Sure.
And critically, the persistent idea that your personal commute doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
But it does, right? I mean, even small changes must add up across millions of people. What are some practical steps we can take, starting today?
Absolutely it does. Every bit counts. You could try carpooling just once a week. See how that works. For short errands, going to the shop, picking something up, commit to biking or walking instead of automatically hopping in the car. And if you do fly, maybe take the time to research how carbon offsetting actually works. Understand its mechanisms, but also its controversies, because it's definitely not a perfect solution or a get-out-of-jail-free card for emissions.
Okay, good point. Tell me more about those intriguing angles you mentioned. The 15-minute city.
Yeah, so the 15-minute city is this fascinating urban planning concept. It envisions a city where all essential services work, shopping, education, healthcare, recreation, are accessible within a 15-minute walk or bike ride from your home. It's a pretty radical rethinking of urban living that drastically reduces reliance on cars.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
It's a great goal. And speaking of flights, let's explore the myth of the eco-friendly flight. Carbon offsetting typically involves investing in projects that reduce greenhouse gases elsewhere, like planting trees or funding renewable energy projects. And while it's often well-intentioned, its actual effectiveness is pretty heavily debated. It doesn't always directly cancel out the emissions from the flight itself.
Wait, it's complex.
Very. We've heard the story of an urban commuter who actually ditched their car entirely for 6 months. And what it taught them wasn't just about saving money or emissions, but about gaining time, improving their health, and having this surprising rediscovery of their local community just through walking and using public transit more.
That's fascinating. It sounds like making different transportation choices often leads to a much lighter living in a broader sense. Maybe less reliance on stuff, more intentional use of space, and even a sense of emotional and financial freedom. That's a surprising byproduct.
That's often the most profound and sometimes unexpected benefit I find. It changes more than just how you get around. So, for your call to action for this section, try replacing just one car trip this week. Swap it with a walk, a bike ride, or the bus. And truly pay attention to how it feels. What do you notice? What's different? Hashtag outro.
Wow. We've taken quite a journey through sustainable living today, haven't we? Highlighting that it's truly a spectrum of choices, from those small, almost invisible daily actions to bigger, more deliberate shifts. I think the most important takeaway, for me at least, is to start exactly where you are and to normalize imperfect action. Every little bit really does count, and every step, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. And the benefits, they extend far beyond just the environmental impact, which is huge in itself. But when you embrace these changes, you often discover improved personal health, sometimes significant financial savings, greater mental clarity maybe from a less cluttered life, both physically and mentally, and often a stronger sense of community as you connect with local, ethical businesses and initiatives.
It all connects back. So maybe a final thought for our listeners.
Yeah, here's something to consider. Before your next purchase, or before you choose how to get somewhere or what to eat, maybe just take 24 hours, if you can, or even just a pause. And ask yourself, who made this? What is it made from? Where will it end up? And how does this choice truly align with the kind of world you want to live in? Because ultimately, every single choice is, well, it's a vote for the kind of world you want to create.
That's a powerful thought to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We really encourage you to continue exploring these vital topics on your own and discover just how fulfilling a more sustainable life can truly be.